The Valkyrie warship hung in space like a dagger made of metal and darkness. Inside its cold halls, Commander Siok stood before a massive cage. His purple skin reflected the dim lights as he looked at the creature inside with disgust in his 3 eyes. The creature was enormous. It looked like a cat but was the size of a small transport vehicle. Its fur was black as deep space and its eyes glowed with a strange red light. Sharp claws that could cut through steel scraped against the cage floor. The Valkyrie had spent years creating this perfect killer. They called it Subject 773, they called it a Shadow Claw, but Subject 773 had failed its final test. The test was simple. Kill the prisoners. The Valkyrie had captured people from a small planet they conquered. 20 innocent beings locked in a room. Subject 773 was supposed to enter and destroy them all. No questions asked. No mercy given, just pure killing instinct. Subject 773 had walked into that room. The prisoners screamed and begged. They had children with them. They held each other and cried. Subject 773 stood there, claws ready, muscles tight. But something inside the creature's mind said no. Something the Valkyrie did not plan for had grown in the darkness of its thoughts. The creature turned around and walked away. The Valkyrie scientists called it broken. The military commanders called it useless. Commander Siok called it a waste of resources. Now the warship traveled through empty space toward a frozen moon. The moon orbited a giant planet made of gas and storms. No one lived there. No ships came there. The temperature on the surface was cold enough to freeze metal. Cold enough to kill anything, even a genetically engineered monster. The cargo bay doors opened. The cage containing Subject 773 floated out into space, guided by a tractor beam. The cage descended toward the frozen surface. Ice and snow covered everything as far as sensors could see. The wind howled with a sound like ghosts crying. The cage hit the ground hard. The impact opened the door. Subject 773 stumbled out onto the ice. The creature looked up at the warship above. Commander Siok watched from the bridge with cold satisfaction. Let it freeze, Siok said to his crew. Let this failure become a warning to all our other projects. Weakness has no place in the Valkyrie Empire. The warship's engines glowed bright blue. In seconds, it vanished into hyperspace, leaving Subject 773 alone on the frozen moon. The creature tried to walk, but the cold bit into its body like invisible teeth. Each breath felt like ice entering its lungs. The wind pushed against its massive frame. Snow began to cover its black fur, turning the killer into a statue of white. Subject 773 had been trained to fight. It had been trained to hunt. It had been trained to destroy without thought or feeling. But no one had trained it to survive being abandoned. No one had trained it to handle the crushing weight of loneliness that now pressed against its chest, harder than the freezing wind. The creature's enhanced mind, designed to calculate attack patterns and weak points, now only calculated how long until death. The genetic modifications that made it strong and fast meant nothing here. The claws that could tear through armor could not tear through the cold. The muscles that could lift vehicles could not lift the weight of despair. Subject 773 walked forward because stopping meant accepting the end. The creature did not know where it was going. There was nowhere to go. Only endless ice in every direction. Only the howling wind and the dark sky above. Hours passed. The creature's steps became slower. Its breathing became harder. Frost formed on its whiskers and around its glowing eyes. The red light in those eyes began to dim like dying stars. Subject 773 thought about the prisoners it had refused to kill. Their faces appeared in its mind. The way they held their children. The way they looked at each other with something the creature did not understand but recognized as important. The Valkyrie called it weakness. But watching those prisoners, Subject 773 had felt something new. Something that made it stop and think instead of just obeying. Maybe that made it broken. Maybe that made it a failure. But as the cold crept deeper into its body, Subject 773 realized something. It had made a choice. For the first time in its entire existence, it had chosen something for itself. Not what the Valkyrie wanted. Not what its programming demanded. But what felt right in that moment. The creature collapsed onto the ice. Snow immediately began to bury it. The wind sang its funeral song. Subject 773's eyes closed slowly. The last warmth left its body. Darkness came creeping in and the creature accepted it. This was the end. Alone on a frozen moon, no one would remember Subject 773. No one would care. The Valkyrie would create other weapons. Other creatures would take its place. The galaxy would keep turning. The stars would keep burning. And this small failure of theirs would freeze and disappear under the snow. But the universe had other plans. Far across the ice plains, beyond the howling wind and falling snow, something else existed on this moon. A small ship with warm lights and gentle voices. People who had come to study ice and learn about ancient things frozen in time. People who believed that all life had value. People who would soon discover that sometimes the most dangerous creatures could become the most loyal friends. Subject 773 did not know about them yet. The creature's consciousness faded into cold darkness, its massive heart beating slower and slower. Death reached out with frozen fingers. But death would have to wait a little longer. Because sometimes being abandoned is not the end of the story. Sometimes it is only the beginning. The snow continued to fall. The wind continued to howl. And somewhere in the distance, sensors began to detect something large and alive on the frozen surface. Sensors connected to a ship called the Baekdu. Sensors monitored by people who were about to make a decision that would change everything. The frozen moon kept its secrets for now. But not for much longer. The research vessel Baekdu sat on the frozen surface like a silver egg in a nest of ice. Inside the warm ship, Dr. Hyun studied his computer screens with tired eyes. He had been awake for 16 hours analyzing ice core samples. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago, but he drank it anyway. Hyun was not a young man anymore. Gray touched his black hair at the temples. Lines around his eyes showed years of studying alien worlds and strange life forms. But his eyes still held the curiosity of a child seeing something new. That curiosity had brought him to this frozen moon in the middle of nowhere. The ship's crew was small. Only 5 people total. Minji was their pilot and engineer, a woman with quick hands and a quicker mind. She could fix anything that broke and fly through storms that would make other pilots quit. Right now she was in the engine room humming a song while she worked. Doyen was the medical officer. Young and serious, he kept everyone healthy and treated every injury from paper cuts to broken bones with the same careful attention. He sat in the medical bay reading research papers on alien biology. Jisoo handled communications and ship operations. She was the one who kept them connected to the rest of humanity, across the vast distance of space. Her screens showed messages from Earth, mission updates, and the constant stream of data flowing through the galaxy. Taeyong was their security officer. Not that they expected trouble on a frozen moon with no life, but regulations required someone trained in protection and weapons. Taeyong spent most of his time helping with research and maintaining the ship's defensive systems. Right now he was running a routine scan of the surrounding area. That routine scan was about to become very not routine. Dr. Hyun, Taeyong's voice came through the ship's communication system. I'm getting some strange readings on motion sensors. Section 7, about 3 kilometers north. Hyun looked up from his ice samples. Strange how? Something big is moving out there. Really big. Could be a geological event, maybe ice shelf movement. But the signature is weird. Almost looks biological. Biological. Hyun stood up quickly. On this moon? That's impossible. Nothing can survive in that cold. Yeah, that's what I thought too. But you should come look at this. Hyun walked to the bridge where Taeyong's security station displayed multiple screens. The motion sensor data showed a large heat signature. Very faint, but definitely there. Whatever it was had been moving, but now had stopped. Minji arrived, wiping grease from her hands. What's going on? We found something, Hyun said quietly. Something alive. Jisoo joined them, looking over Taeyong's shoulder at the data. Could be equipment from another expedition. Maybe someone crashed here and their reactor is still giving off heat. Only one way to find out, Hyun said. Taeyong, Minji, gear up. We're going to investigate. Doyen appeared with the medical kit. I'm coming too. If something is alive out there, it might need help. 20 minutes later, 4 crew members stood on the frozen surface in their protective suits. The wind hit them like frozen hammers. Their helmet displays showed the temperature at negative 150 degrees. The 5th crew member, Jisoo, stayed on the ship to monitor and guide them. They drove across the ice in their all-terrain vehicle. The landscape looked like a painting done in only white and gray. No plants, no rocks, just endless ice under a dark sky. The gas giant planet hung above them like a massive eye watching everything. 200 meters ahead, Jisoo's voice came through their helmets. Heat signature is stationary. Not moving at all now. The vehicle climbed over a ridge of ice. On the other side, they saw it. A massive creature lay in the snow. Black fur covered its body, but frost and ice had turned much of it white. The thing was huge, bigger than their vehicle. It looked like a cat, but wrong somehow. Too large, too perfect. 4 legs with paws the size of dinner plates, claws like metal blades. A face that would be beautiful if it wasn't so terrifying. Holy, Minji whispered. Taeyong immediately drew his weapon. Everyone stay back. That's a shadow claw. Valkyrie bioweapon. I've seen reports about these things. They're engineered killers. Hyun approached slowly despite Taeyong's warning. His scientist brain was racing. A Valkyrie creation all the way out here? How? Why? It's dying, Doyen said, checking his medical scanner. The device showed the creature's vital signs. Body temperature is critically low. Multiple organs are starting to fail. Breathing is shallow. If we don't do something in the next hour, it will be dead. Good, Taeyong said firmly. These things are weapons. Designed to kill. We should get back to the ship and report this. Hyun knelt in the snow beside the creature's massive head. Up close, he could see details. The way its fur had patterns like smoke. The careful design of its bone structure. The genetic modifications that made it more than a natural animal. But he also saw something else. The creature's face, even unconscious, looked peaceful. Not aggressive. Not angry. Just tired. Someone left it here, Hyun said softly. Look around, no ship. No tracks except ours. Someone brought this creature here and abandoned it to freeze to death. It's a weapon, Taeyong repeated. There's probably a good reason. Maybe, Hyun agreed. Or maybe it was inconvenient. Maybe it broke down. Maybe it disobeyed an order. He touched the creature's frozen fur gently. Should we leave it to die just because it's different? Just because it's dangerous? Minji looked at Doyen. Can we even help it? I mean, our medical equipment is designed for humans. The Valkyrie use similar biological systems to what we understand. Doyen said slowly. I could try, but we'd need to get it onto the ship. Into the cargo bay where we can warm it up and stabilize it. Are you all crazy? Taeyong shook his head. That thing could wake up and kill us all. Hyun stood and looked at his crew. I know it's dangerous. I know it's probably stupid, but look at it. Someone created this beautiful, terrible thing, then threw it away like garbage. Left it to die alone in the cold, he paused. I became a scientist because I believe all life deserves to be studied and understood. All life has value. Even life that scares us, Minji sighed. The cargo bay has reinforced walls. We can set up a containment field. If it wakes up violent, we can protect ourselves, Doyen nodded. I'll do my best to save it. Taeyong looked at each of them. Finally, he lowered his weapon. This is officially the worst idea we've ever had, but okay. Let's save the giant murder cat. Jisu's voice came through their helmets. Did you just say you're bringing a Valkyrie shadow claw onto our ship? Yes, Hyun said simply. There was a long pause. Then Jisu laughed. Well, life was getting boring anyway. Bring it home. They used the vehicle's emergency towing equipment and the ship's tractor beam to carefully lift the unconscious creature. The shadow claw was incredibly heavy, its engineered muscles dense and powerful. Getting it through the cargo bay doors took 30 minutes of careful maneuvering. Finally, the massive creature lay on the heated floor of the cargo bay. Doyen immediately went to work, setting up medical equipment and thermal blankets. Minji activated the containment field, creating an invisible barrier that would hold even if the creature went wild. Hyun stood outside the field, watching the shadow claw breathe slowly. Frost melted from its fur, revealing the true black color underneath. Even unconscious and dying, it was magnificent. Welcome aboard, Hyun whispered. Let's see if we can give you a second chance. The creature's ear twitched slightly. Deep in its dying mind, something registered warmth, safety, the possibility of hope. On the frozen moon, death had been certain. But inside the Baekdu, surrounded by strange small beings who had chosen kindness over fear, the Shadow Claw's story was about to change completely. The Shadow Claw's eyes opened slowly. Red light flickered like candles trying not to go out. Everything hurt. The creature's body felt strange, heavy but warm. Where was the cold? Where was the ice and wind? The creature tried to move and immediately felt panic. This was not the frozen moon. This was somewhere else, somewhere enclosed. The Shadow Claw's combat instincts kicked in. Muscles tensed. Claws extended. A growl built deep in its chest, then it saw them. 5 small beings standing outside some kind of invisible wall. The beings looked fragile. Soft skin, no natural weapons, easy to kill. The shadow claw tried to leap forward, but weakness made it stumble. The creature's legs shook. How long had it been dying in the cold? Easy there, one of the beings said. The voice was calm and gentle. We're not going to hurt you, the shadow claw snarled, showing teeth designed to tear through armor. But the beings did not run. The one who spoke stepped closer to the invisible barrier. He was older than the others, with gray in his dark hair. His eyes held no fear, only curiosity. My name is Hyun, the being said. You're safe here. You were dying on that moon. We brought you to our ship. The creature's mind raced, dying. Yes, it remembered the cold. The abandonment. Commander Seok's disgust, the cage falling through the frozen sky. But these beings had saved it? Why? What did they want? Doyen approached with medical equipment in his hands. I need to check your vitals. You nearly froze to death. Your organs are still recovering. The shadow claw backed into a corner of the containment area. Every instinct screamed danger. Strange place. Strange beings. Unknown situation. The Velkari had trained it to evaluate threats and eliminate them. These beings were threats. Small, yes, but unknown. Unknown meant dangerous, but they had also saved it. That thought cut through the combat programming like a claw through flesh. Why save something just to hurt it? I know you're scared, Hyun said, sitting down on the floor outside the barrier. I would be too if I woke up somewhere strange. But I promise we mean you no harm. We saw you dying in the ice and couldn't leave you there. Days passed slowly. The shadow claw watched the beings constantly. They brought food, strange synthesized proteins that tasted wrong but provided nutrition. They changed the thermal blankets. They checked medical readings. And always they talked. Hyun came most often. He would sit outside the containment field and speak in that gentle voice. He talked about his world called Earth, about creatures there called cats, about how humans had lived with cats for thousands of years. We never really tamed them, Hyun explained one evening. Cats chose to live with us. They could leave any time, but they stayed. There's something special about that. A relationship built on choice, not force. The shadow claw listened. Its enhanced brain processed every word. The Velkari had given it intelligence to better understand combat situations, but that intelligence now absorbed these stories about choice and companionship. Minji came to work on the cargo bay systems. She talked while she worked, not really to the creature but not ignoring it either. You know, when Hyun said we should save you, I thought he was crazy. But now I see something in your eyes. You're not just a weapon, are you? There's someone in there. Taeyong maintained a professional distance. He kept his weapon ready and watched for any sign of aggression. But even he started to relax as days turned into weeks and the shadow claw showed no violence. Jisoo discovered something important. She was checking the creature's biology and found a small implant near its brain. It's a translation device, she reported excitedly. Standard Velkari military tech. If we can activate it, we might be able to communicate directly. Hyun looked at the shadow claw through the containment field. Would that be okay? Can we turn on the translator? The creature looked back at him. Something in those glowing red eyes shifted. Slowly, carefully, it nodded its massive head. Jisoo worked carefully with the remote activation. The implant came online with a soft beep. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the shadow claw opened its mouth and words came out in perfectly understandable human language. Why save me? The voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. I am weapon. I am failure. The 5 humans stared in shock, not because the creature could talk, but because of what it said. The pain in those words was clear. Hyun stood and approached the barrier. You're not a failure. You're alive. That's all that matters. No. The shadow claw shook its great head. Velkari made me to kill. Made me perfect killer, but I failed final test. I refused to kill prisoners. Commander Seok called me broken. They left me to freeze because I was useless. You refused to kill prisoners? Doyen asked quietly. They had children, the creature said, its voice dropping to almost a whisper. Small ones. They held them and cried. I was supposed to destroy them all. But something inside me said no. I do not understand why. I only know I could not do it. Silence filled the cargo bay. Each human processed what they had just heard. This creature, engineered to be a perfect killer, had chosen mercy, had chosen compassion, and been thrown away for it. That doesn't make you broken, Hyun said firmly. That makes you good. You chose not to hurt innocents. You chose right over wrong. That's not a failure. That's strength. The Shadow Claw looked at him with those glowing eyes. Velkari said it was weakness. The Velkari were wrong, Minji said, stepping forward. You know what? You need a name. Something better than Subject 773. How about Hanul? It means sky in our language, because we found you under an alien sky. The creature tested the word. Hanul. It felt strange in its mouth, but also good. Not a number. Not a designation, a name. Yes, Hanul, Accept this. From that moment, everything changed. Hanul began to truly heal. Not just in body, but in spirit. The creature learned more about the humans. Learned that they came from a world of diversity and conflict, but also cooperation and kindness. Doyen played music in the cargo bay. Hanul discovered it enjoyed the sounds, especially peaceful melodies that felt like the opposite of combat and violence. The creature would close its eyes and let the music wash over it like warm water. Jisoo taught Hanul about human history, stories of wars and peace, of people helping each other even when it was dangerous. We're not perfect, Jisoo explained. Humans do terrible things sometimes, but we also do beautiful things. We try to be better. Minji involved Hanul in small repairs around the cargo bay. The creature's precise control and enormous strength made certain tasks easier. Working together, they fixed a damaged support beam that would have taken Minji days alone. Taeyong offered to spar with Hanul once the creature was fully recovered. They established strict safety rules and used the cargo bay's open space. What Taeyong discovered amazed him. Hanul fought with incredible skill but also with control. The creature pulled its strikes, matched Taeyong's level, and showed what could only be called honor. After their session, both sat catching their breath. You fight differently than I expected, Taeyong admitted. Velkari taught me to kill without thought, Hanul explained. To overwhelm and destroy. But you teach me to fight with purpose. With rules. With respect for opponent. This is better. This feels right. But it was Hyun who spent the most time with Hanul. The scientist and the engineered predator had long conversations about everything. Philosophy, morality, the nature of choice and free will. The Velkari made me to serve them, Hanul said one evening. Every part of me was designed for their purpose. How can I be anything else? How can I choose when I was built to obey? You already chose, Hyun pointed out. When you refused to kill those prisoners, that was your choice, not theirs. They didn't want you to choose. They wanted a tool, but you became something more. What am I then? Hyun smiled. You're Hanul. You're our friend. You're someone learning to be who they want to be instead of what they were made to be. That's all any of us can do. Hanul curled up on the thermal blankets, its massive form somehow looking small and vulnerable. I was so cold on that moon. I thought I would die alone, that no one would remember me or care. We care, Hyun said softly. All of us. Your crew now, your family. The word family hung in the air like a new star. Hanul had never had a family, had never had friends, had never had anything except orders and training and the cold evaluation of whether it was useful or not. Family, Hanul repeated, testing how the word felt. It felt warm, warmer than any thermal blanket, warmer than the ship's heating systems. Outside the Baekdu, the frozen moon continued its eternal circle around the gas giant. Stars burned in the distance. The universe went on as it always had. But inside the small research vessel, something new had been born. Not just the recovery of a dying creature, but the beginning of a bond that would soon be tested in ways none of them could imagine, because the Velkari did not forget their property, and they were coming to take it back. 3 weeks had passed since they found Hanul on the frozen moon. The cargo bay had transformed from a medical ward into something more like a home. Hanul no longer needed the containment field. The invisible barrier stayed down. The creature moved freely through the ship now, though it had to duck through doorways and be careful not to break things with its massive size. Mornings on the Baekdu followed a routine. Hanul would wake early and help Minji with ship maintenance. The engineer had discovered that having someone who could reach difficult spaces and lift heavy equipment made her job much easier. Hand me that power coupling, Minji said from inside an access panel. A huge black paw carefully picked up the delicate equipment and passed it through. Thanks. You know, I never thought I'd have a giant alien cat as my assistant. I never thought I would be assistant, Hanul rumbled back. Velkari only trained me for combat, but I like this better. building things instead of breaking them. After helping Minji, Hanul would visit Doyun in the medical bay. The doctor ran daily health checks, monitoring how the creature's body had recovered from near death. But these sessions had become more than just medical examinations. They talked about feelings and emotions. The Valkyrie gave you intelligence but tried to suppress your emotions, Doyen explained while scanning Hanul's vital signs. But emotions are part of being truly alive. It's okay to feel things. Sometimes I feel angry, Hanul admitted. About being created to kill. About being thrown away. Is that wrong? No, that's perfectly normal. You have every right to be angry about what happened to you. Doyen put down his scanner and looked at the creature seriously. But what matters is what you do with that anger. You're choosing to build a new life instead of letting anger control you. That's courage. Hanul thought about this. The creature had been trained to turn anger into violence, but now it was learning different ways to handle difficult feelings. Ways that did not involve claws and fighting. Afternoons often found Hanul with Jisoo in the communications center. The specialist taught the creature about the wider galaxy, about different species and civilizations, about politics and trade and all the complicated ways beings interacted. The Valkyrie are part of something called the Dominion Alliance, Jisoo explained, showing star maps. They believe in strength above everything. They conquer smaller species and use them. But there are other civilizations that don't think that way. Like humans? Hanul asked. We're not perfect, Jisoo said honestly. Humans have done terrible things in our history. We've had wars and slavery and cruelty, but we learned, we grew. We started believing that all sapient beings deserve rights and freedom. That's why the United Earth Alliance exists now, to protect those values. Hanul absorbed this information hungrily. The creature's enhanced mind had been filled with combat tactics and killing techniques. Now it filled with knowledge about cooperation and ethics and justice. This new information felt better somehow. More right evenings brought Hanul's favorite time. Taeyong ran combat training in the cargo bay, and Hanul joined in. Not to learn how to kill better, but to learn discipline and control, to understand the difference between fighting with honor and just destroying everything. They moved through practice forms together, Taeyong with his martial arts techniques, Hanul with controlled strikes that could have shattered walls but instead stopped precisely where intended. The security officer had initial doubts, but now he saw Hanul as a partner. Again, Taeyong instructed. Remember, power without control is useless. Anyone can destroy. True strength is knowing when not to. Hanul repeated the movements, each strike perfect but gentle, each block solid but not aggressive. This was different from Valkyrie training. Better. The creature felt more whole learning this way. After training, Hanul would shower in the specially modified cleaning station Minji had built. Then came the time the creature treasured most. Time with Hyun. The scientist had moved a comfortable chair into the cargo bay. He would sit there in the evenings drinking tea and talking with Hanul about everything and nothing. Sometimes they discussed deep philosophical questions. Sometimes they just shared silence, enjoying each other's company. Tell me about Earthcats again, Hanul requested one evening, lying on the warm floor with its massive head on its paws. Hyun smiled. He had told this story before, but he knew Hanul liked hearing it. They're small, much smaller than you. Some humans say cats are cold and uncaring, but that's not true. They show affection differently than dogs. Cats choose who they trust. They don't give loyalty automatically. You have to earn it. I understand that, Hanul said quietly. Trust is not given. It is earned, exactly. And you know what's funny? Cats are predators. They hunt and kill. They have claws and teeth designed for hunting. But they also purr when they're happy. They curl up in warm spots. They play with toys. Being a predator doesn't mean you can't also be gentle. Hanul considered this. The Valkyrie said my gentleness made me broken. But you say I can be both, dangerous and kind. Not just can be, Hyun corrected. You are both. That's what makes you special. You have the power to be terrifying, but you choose to be kind instead. That choice is what defines you. One evening, Minji brought something into the cargo bay. It was a small ball made of soft material. I fabricated this in the workshop. Thought maybe you'd like it. Hanul looked at the toy with confusion. What is it for? It's for playing, for fun. You work hard helping all of us. You train and study, but you should also have time to just enjoy yourself. Minji rolled the ball across the floor. Without thinking, Hanul's predator instincts kicked in. The creature pounced on the ball, batting it with huge paws, then stopped, looking embarrassed. That was undignified, but the humans were all smiling. not mocking. Just happy. That was perfect, Hyun laughed. You're allowed to have fun, Hanel. You're allowed to just be yourself without worrying about dignity or purpose. Sometimes playing is important too. Slowly, carefully, Hanel pushed the ball back toward Minji. She kicked it gently. The creature chased it again. Soon all 5 humans were playing with Hanul, rolling the ball around the cargo bay while the massive shadow claw pounced and batted like a kitten. The sound that came from Hanul's chest surprised everyone. A deep, rumbling vibration. Not a growl. Something else entirely. Are you purring? Doyeon asked in wonder. Hanul stopped, confused by the sound coming from its own body. I do not know. What is purring? It's what Earth cats do when they're happy and content, Hyun explained softly. I didn't know shadow claws could purr. Maybe Velkari never gave me reason to, Hanul said. The purring continued, the creature unable to stop it even if it wanted to. Because for the first time in its entire existence, Hanul felt truly happy. Late that night, after the humans had gone to sleep, Hanul lay in the dark cargo bay. The creature thought about its life before. The cold training facilities. The harsh commands. The constant evaluation of worth based only on combat ability. That life had been survival but not living. Now Hanul had friends. Had purpose beyond violence. Had learned that being strong meant more than just physical power. The creature understood now what it had sensed in those prisoners it refused to kill. They had connections. Love. The thing that made life worth living. Hanul had that now too. These 5 humans had given the creature something precious. Not just life, but a reason for living. A home. A family. The cargo bay door whispered open. Hyun stepped inside, wrapped in a sleeping robe. Can't sleep? Too many thoughts, Hanul admitted. Hyun sat down, leaning against the creature's warm side like Hanul was a massive pillow. Want to talk about them? I was thinking about before. About the cold place. About dying alone. Hanul's voice was quiet. And then I think about now. About you and the others. About having family. The difference is like fire and ice. You'll never be alone again, Hyun said firmly. Whatever happens, we're with you. But what if Velkari come back? What if they want me returned? Then we'll deal with it together. You're not property anymore, Hanul. You're a person. And we don't abandon family. The creature carefully wrapped one large paw around the small human, gentle despite its deadly strength. Thank you, Hyun, for seeing me instead of just seeing weapon. Thank you for letting us see you, Hyun replied. They sat together in comfortable silence. Outside the ship, stars wheeled slowly through space. The universe was vast and often cold, but inside the Baekdu warmth existed. Connection existed. Love existed. Hanul had been created to be alone, a solitary killer needing no one. But the creature had broken that programming. Had chosen connection over isolation. Had chosen family over duty. The Velkari had tried to make a perfect weapon. Instead, they had accidentally created someone capable of love and loyalty stronger than any programming. Someone who would soon prove that the bonds of chosen family were stronger than steel, stronger than duty, stronger than fear. Because in 3 days the communications system would detect an incoming ship, a Velkari warship, coming to reclaim their lost property, and the crew of the Baekdu would face a choice that would test everything they believed about right and wrong, safety and risk, fear and love. But for now, in this quiet moment, there was only peace. A scientist and a shadow claw sitting together in the darkness, both knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. That wah, the alarm woke everyone at once. Sharp and urgent, it cut through the morning quiet like a knife. Jisu's voice came over the ship speakers, tense and worried. Everyone to the bridge, now. We have incoming. Hyun ran from his quarters, still pulling on his shirt. Doyeon and Minji arrived at the same time, both looking confused and alarmed. Taeyong came last, weapon already in hand. Hanel moved through the corridors behind them, the creature's massive form barely fitting but moving with surprising grace. On the bridge, Jisu's screen showed a ship approaching fast. It was huge, 10 times the size of the Baekdu. Dark metal shaped like a blade, energy signatures that marked it as heavily armed. It's Velkari, Jisu said unnecessarily. Everyone could see the distinctive design. They started broadcasting a message 20 minutes ago. I've been stalling, but we need to respond. Play it, Hyun ordered, his voice tight. The screen flickered. Commander Seok's face appeared, his 3 purple eyes cold and emotionless. Attention, human vessel Baekdu. You are harboring stolen Velkari property. Biological asset subject 773 is our legal possession. You will return it immediately or face military consequences. The message ended. The crew stood in silence, processing. Then everyone turned to look at Hanul. The creature stood very still, red eyes glowing in the bridge's dim light. They want me back, Hanul said quietly. What do they mean by legal property? Minji asked, anger in her voice. Velkari law considers engineered beings to be property of their creators, Jisoo explained. She had pulled up legal databases, like equipment or weapons. They don't recognize such beings as having rights. That's insane, Doyen said. Hanul is clearly sapient, clearly capable of independent thought and feeling. Taeyong looked at the approaching warship on the screens. Legal philosophy won't matter much if they blow us out of space. We need to make a decision fast. All eyes turned to Hyun. As mission commander, this choice was his. The weight of it pressed on his shoulders like physical mass. 5 human lives against one creature's freedom. A tiny research vessel against a warship. Logic said there was only one choice. Hyun looked at Hanul. Remembered finding the creature dying in the snow. Remembered weeks of watching it learn and grow and become more than just a weapon. Remembered last night sitting together in the dark talking about family. Jisoo, open a channel to the Velkari ship, Hyun said. Are we surrendering? Taeyong asked. No, we're negotiating. Commander Seok's face appeared on screen again. His expression showed satisfaction, as if the outcome was already decided. You are wise to cooperate quickly, humans. We're not cooperating, Hyun said firmly. The being you call Subject 773 has a name, Hanul, and we're granting it asylum under United Earth Alliance law. Hanul is under our protection now. Seok's face twisted with something like amusement. You claim to protect our property? You are 5 humans in a research vessel. We are a warship with enough firepower to turn your ship into dust. This is not negotiation. This is you following orders. Hanul is not property, Hyun continued, keeping his voice steady despite his racing heart. It's a sapient being capable of thought, emotion, and choice. By human law, that makes it a person deserving of rights and protection. Human law means nothing here, Seok said coldly. You have 10 minutes to transfer Subject 773 to our ship. After that, we will take it by force, and your ship will be destroyed for theft of military assets. The screen went dark. 10 minutes. The crew looked at each other with fear and determination mixed together. We can't win a fight, Taeyong stated the obvious. Our weapons are for research defense only. We'd last maybe 30 seconds against their arsenal. We could run, Minji suggested. I can plot a jump to hyperspace. Get us out of here before they can stop us. They'll follow, Jisoo pointed out, and report our position to other Velkari forces. We'd be fugitives. Hanul stepped forward, moving to the center of the bridge. The creature's massive size seemed to fill the entire space. I will go back. What? No, Hyun said immediately. It is logical, Hanul said calmly.
5 lives are worth more than 1.
You saved me, gave me weeks of freedom and friendship. That is more than I ever expected. I will return to Velkari. You will be safe. They'll kill you, Doyen said. You failed their test. You disobeyed. They don't want you back for any good reason. Then I will die, Hanul said simply. But you will live. That matters more. Hyun stood and walked to the creature. He had to look up to meet those glowing red eyes. You said something to me last night. About family. About never being alone again. Did you mean it? Yes, Hanul said softly. Then you should know something about human families. We don't abandon each other. Even when it's dangerous. Even when it doesn't make sense. We stand together. Hyun turned to look at his crew. I won't order anyone to risk their life. But I'm not giving up, Hanul. If anyone wants to leave, take the escape pods. I'll stay here alone if I have to. Minji laughed, though it sounded a bit shaky. You're not getting rid of us that easy. I didn't fix this ship 100 times just to abandon it now. I took an oath to protect life, Doyun added. All life. That includes giant alien cats who purr when they're happy. Jisoo nodded firmly. I'm not leaving either. Besides, I already sent an emergency signal to the nearest human colony. Help might arrive. Eventually. Taeyong checked his weapon and sighed. This is completely crazy. Absolutely insane. I'm in. Hanul looked at each of them, the creature's eyes showing emotions that no Velkari had programmed. Gratitude. Love. Determination. You would all die for me. We would all fight for you, Hyun corrected. There's a difference. Fighting means we plan to win. How? Hanel asked. They have warship. We have research vessel. Minji grinned, and there was something dangerous in that smile. We have something better, we have me. And I know every trick in the book for getting away from bigger ships. She brought up star charts. There's an asteroid field 3 light minutes from here. Dense field, lots of obstacles. Big ships can't maneuver well in there. We're small and quick. If I can get us into that field before they catch us, we might be able to hide long enough for help to arrive. They'll follow us in, Taeyong pointed out. Yes, but they'll have to be careful. One wrong move and they'll crash into an asteroid. Meanwhile, I can fly circles around them. Minji's fingers flew across her controls. It's risky. Very risky. But it's better than just giving up. 5 minutes until their deadline, Jisoo announced. Hyun looked around the bridge one more time. His crew, his friends, and Hanul, the creature they had saved who had become so much more than anyone expected. They were about to risk everything for a principle. For the belief that sapient beings deserved freedom regardless of how they were created. Minji, plot your course, Hyun ordered. Everyone else secure for emergency maneuvers. Hanul, strap into the cargo bay. This is going to get rough. The creature didn't move immediately. Instead, Hanul looked at each human carefully as if memorizing their faces. If we survive this, I promise I will spend rest of my life being worthy of your sacrifice. You're already worthy, Hyun said quietly. Now go. Let us show the Velkari what happens when they threaten our family. Hanul hurried to the cargo bay. The crew took their positions. Minji's hands moved across the controls with the precision of a concert pianist. Thebektu's engines began to hum with building power. 1 minute left, Jisoo opened a channel to the Velkari ship. Commander Seok's face appeared, expecting surrender. Instead, Hyun smiled. Not a friendly smile. A challenging one. Commander Seok, we reject your demands. Hanul is crew of the Bektu. It is under the protection of the United Earth Alliance. If you want to take it, you'll have to go through us. Seok's 3 eyes widened in disbelief. You dare refuse? You will die for this insolence. Maybe, Hyun agreed. But we'll die free. And Hanul will too. Can you say the same? He nodded to Jisoo, who cut the transmission. Minji, punch it, Hyun ordered. The Bektu's engines flared bright white. The ship leaped forward, accelerating faster than any research vessel had the right to move. Minji had diverted all non-essential power to the engines. Life support, weapons, everything went to speed. Behind them, the Velkari warship fired. Energy beams cut through space where the Bektu had been seconds before. The weapons were powerful enough to vaporize a small moon, but they couldn't hit what they couldn't catch. Come on, baby, Minji whispered to her ship. Show them what you can do. The Bektu raced toward the asteroid field with death following close behind. In the cargo bay, Hanul held onto the restraints with massive paws, feeling the ship shake with acceleration. The creature's enhanced mind calculated odds of survival. They were not good. But for the first time in its existence, Hanul understood something the Velkari never could. Some things mattered more than survival. Some things were worth fighting for even when the odds were impossible. Freedom mattered. Family mattered. And these brave, stubborn humans had just declared that they would rather die than abandon someone they cared about. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a maze of spinning rocks and deadly obstacles. The Velkari warship kept firing, getting closer with each shot. Hold on, everyone, Minji called. The Bektu twisted through the asteroid field like a fish through coral. Rocks the size of mountains spun past on all sides. Minji's hands never stopped moving on the controls, making constant tiny adjustments. Sweat dripped down her face, but her expression stayed focused and calm. Behind them, the Velkari warship followed more slowly. Its bulk made quick turns impossible. Several times it had to fire weapons to destroy asteroids in its path rather than risk collision. Each time the explosions lit up space like small suns. They're gaining when they have clear shots, Jisoo reported, watching the sensors. But we're pulling ahead in the dense sections. An energy beam cut past the Bektu so close that the shield sparked. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge. Shields at 60%, Taeyong called out. Another direct hit like that and we're in trouble. Then we don't get hit, Minji said through gritted teeth. She threw the ship into a barrel roll around a spinning asteroid. The maneuver was so tight that gravity compensators couldn't quite keep up. Everyone felt their stomachs lurch. In the cargo bay, Hanul held on with all 4 sets of claws dug into the floor. The creature's enhanced body could handle extreme forces. but it still felt every violent turn and sudden stop. Hanul wanted to help, but there was nothing to do except wait and hope. Hours passed. The chase continued deeper into the asteroid field. Minji's flying was incredible, but everyone could see exhaustion setting in. Her reaction slowed by fractions of seconds. In this environment, that could mean death. Minji, let me take over for a while, Hyun suggested gently. No offense, Commander, but you can't fly like I can, Minji said. No one can. This is my specialty. Another blast hit the shields. The ship shuddered violently. Shields at 30%, Taeyong announced grimly. Doyun checked his readouts. Life support is stable, but we've been burning through power reserves fast. At this rate, we'll run out of energy in 3 hours. Will help arrive by then? Hyun asked Jisoo. She shook her head. The nearest human military ship is still 6 hours away. I've been updating them, but there's nothing they can do to get here faster. The math was simple and terrible. They would run out of power before help arrived. When that happened, the Valkyrie would capture them, would take Hanul back, would probably destroy the Baekdu and its crew for defying them. There has to be another option, Hyun said, thinking hard. Something we're missing. Taeyong studied the tactical display. The warship has better weapons and shields, but it's slow. If we could somehow disable it, even temporarily, we could get away. How do we disable a warship with no weapons? Minji asked while dodging another asteroid. A crazy idea formed in Hyun's mind. Crazy and dangerous and possibly suicidal, but maybe their only chance? He activated the ship's internal communication to the cargo bay. Hanul, can you hear me? Yes, the creature's deep voice came back immediately. You were designed for combat, specifically for destroying ships and installations, correct? There was a pause. Yes, Valkyrie created me to board enemy vessels. My claws can cut through hull plating. My body can survive in vacuum for short periods. I am weapon designed for ship assault. Everyone on the bridge suddenly understood where Hyun was going with this. Absolutely not, Doyun said firmly. You're talking about sending Hanul out there against an entire warship? Not to destroy it, Hyun explained quickly. Just to disable it. If Hanul could damage their engines or weapon systems, it might give us enough time to escape. It's a suicide mission, Taeyong said. Even for something as tough as a shadow claw. I will do it, Hanul's voice came through the speakers. Tell me what to target. No, Hyun said, surprising everyone. Not yet. I'm not asking you to sacrifice yourself. I'm asking if it's possible. If there's a way you could damage that ship and survive. Another blast rocked the Baekdu. Shields down to 20% now, Hanul thought carefully. If I approach from their blind spot, where their sensors cannot track small objects well, I might reach the hull undetected. Once there, I could cut through to their engine compartment. Destroy the hyperspace generator. That would strand them here until repairs are completed. How long would you be in vacuum? Doyun asked. 12 minutes. Maybe 15. Valkyrie designed my body to survive 20 minutes without air. It will be painful, but not fatal. And how do you get back to our ship? Jisoo asked. Silence, that was the problem. Hanul could probably damage the warship. But getting back to the Baekdu while it was flying through an asteroid field at high speed? Nearly impossible. I have an idea, Minji said slowly. It's insane. But everything about this day is insane, so why stop now? She brought up a navigation plot. There's a large asteroid cluster about 10 minutes ahead. Really dense. The warship will have to slow down significantly to navigate it. If Hanul launches then, they won't see it leave because they'll be focused on not crashing. Hanul does the damage. Then we swing back around and pick it up. That puts us in range of their weapons when we come back, Taeyong pointed out. Yes, but if Hanul succeeds, their weapons might be offline too. Minji looked at everyone. It's risky for all of us, not just Hanul. Hyun stood and walked to the cargo bay. The others watched on screens as he entered. Hanul stood there massive and powerful, but also clearly their friend. The creature looked at him with those glowing red eyes. I won't order you to do this, Hyun said quietly. You're not a weapon anymore. Your crew, your family, and I won't send family to their death. But you will let family choose to fight for those they love? Hanul asked. Hyun nodded. Yes, if that's what you choose. Hanul moved closer, lowering its enormous head until it was level with Hyun's face. You saved me from freezing alone. You gave me warmth and friendship and purpose. You showed me I could be more than what I was made to be. Now let me show you what I choose to be. What's that? Brave, like you. Like all of you, Hanul stood tall. I choose to protect my family. I choose to fight for those who cannot fight. I choose to be the weapon one more time, but on my terms. For my reasons. Tears formed in Hyun's eyes. Come back to us. That's an order. I will try, Father, Hanul said softly. The word hung in the air. Father. Not commander, not doctor. Father. Hyun hugged the creature's massive head, not caring about dignity or propriety. I'm proud of you. So proud. 10 minutes later, the Baekdu reached the dense asteroid cluster. Minji positioned the ship behind a particularly large rock, hiding them from the warship's sensors. The cargo bay door opened to vacuum. Hanil stood at the edge, looking out at the deadly environment. No air, no warmth, just the cold of space and the approaching Valkyrie warship. The creature's body was already beginning the hibernation response that would let it survive without breathing. Good luck. Minji's voice came through the radio in Hanul's translation implant. See you soon. Hanul jumped. The creature flew through space like a black ghost. Valkyrie genetic engineering had included some basic maneuvering capabilities using compressed air jets from modified pores. Hanul used these to navigate between asteroids, moving silently toward the warship. On the Valkyrie bridge, Commander Siok focused on navigating the asteroid cluster. Where is the human ship? Lost visual in the dense area, his sensor officer reported. Searching. They never saw Hanul approach from below where their scanner coverage was weakest. The creature landed on the hull with magnetic claws, making no sound in the vacuum. It crawled along the metal surface like a spider, heading toward the engine section. Inside the Baekdu, the crew watched on their sensors. They could barely detect Hanul, just a small anomaly on the warship's hull. Come on, Minji whispered. You can do this. Hanul found the engine compartment access panel. Claws designed to tear through armor made quick work of the external plating. The creature pulled the panel away and looked inside. Glowing conduits carried energy from the reactor to the hyperspace generator. Beautiful and complex and fragile, one strike. That's all it would take. Hanul's enhanced mind calculated exactly where to hit. The creature raised one massive paw, claws extended, then brought it down with all the strength of Valkyrie genetic engineering. Metal screamed silently in vacuum. Energy conduits exploded in showers of sparks. The hyperspace generator shuddered and died. Secondary explosions rippled through adjacent systems. Weapon power grid went offline. Shield generators flickered and failed. On the bridge, Commander Siok's console lit up with emergency warnings. What happened? Report. Massive damage to main systems. Something destroyed our engine compartment. Siok's three eyes widened in understanding. The Shadow Claw. It's on our ship. Hanul pushed away from the dying warship, using the last of its maneuvering capabilities. The creature drifted in space, watching the Valkyrie vessel go dark. Mission accomplished. But now came the hard part, surviving until rescue. The Baekdu burst from behind its hiding asteroid. Minji flew straight toward Hanul's position, dodging the warship's emergency weapons fire. The shots were weak, powered by backup systems only. I see it, Jisoo called out. 200 meters and closing. Opening cargo bay, Taeyong said, his hands moving fast. Minji aligned the ship perfectly. The cargo bay scooped Hanul out of space like a net catching a fish. The door slammed shut. Atmosphere flooded back in. In the cargo bay, Hanul collapsed on the floor, gasping for air. The diplomatic chamber on Earth Station 7 was designed to be neutral and welcoming. Representatives from dozens of civilizations gathered here to discuss important matters. Today, the matter was extremely important and extremely controversial. Ambassador Chen of the United Earth Alliance stood before the Galactic Council, presenting humanity's case. Beside him, looking very out of place among the politicians in their fine clothes, stood Dr. Hyun and his crew. And towering over all of them, careful not to knock anything over with its massive size, stood Hanul. The being known as Hanul has applied for citizenship in the United Earth Alliance. Ambassador Chen explained to the assembled diplomats. This application has been approved by our government. We recognize Hanul as a sapient being deserving of all rights and protections. The Valkyrie representative, a female diplomat named Cora, stood immediately. This is theft of military property. Subject 773 was created by Valkyrie scientists using Valkyrie resources. It belongs to the Valkyrie Empire by law. By your law, Ambassador Chen corrected. Not by ours. We do not recognize ownership of sapient beings. Hanul has demonstrated clear intelligence, emotional capacity, and free will. Under human law, that makes it a person, not property. It is a weapon, Cora insisted. Engineered for combat. Dangerous. Unpredictable. Hanul stepped forward, the movement drawing every eye in the chamber. When the creature spoke, its voice was calm and measured, translated through the implant so all could understand. I was created to be a weapon. This is true. But I am also more than my creation. I chose not to kill innocents. I chose to help those who saved me. I chose friendship over violence. Are these not the actions of a sapient being? Murmurs ran through the council. Other species representatives whispered among themselves. The issue was uncomfortable for many of them. If engineered beings could be recognized as sapient, it raised questions about their own practices. The lead counselor, a wise being from an ancient civilization, spoke carefully. The precedent this sets is significant. Many species create biological tools for specific purposes. If we rule these creations are sapient and deserve freedom, it affects more than just the Velkari. Good, Hyun said, stepping forward despite not being officially recognized to speak. Maybe it should affect everyone. Maybe we should all examine our practices and ask if we're creating thinking, feeling beings and treating them like objects. Security moved to remove Hyun, but Ambassador Chen held up a hand. Dr. Hyun and his crew are the ones who discovered Hanul. I think their perspective is valuable. The counselor nodded. Speak, human. Hyun looked around the chamber at all the different species. My people have made many mistakes in our history. We've enslaved others. We've treated beings as property. We've committed terrible crimes. But we learned, we grew. We recognized that all sapient life deserves freedom and dignity. He gestured to Hanul. When we found this creature dying on a frozen moon, we had a choice. Leave it to die because it was dangerous and unknown, or save it because it was alive and suffering. We chose compassion. And you know what we discovered? Hanul is kind, loyal, brave. Everything you could want in a friend. Minji stepped forward too. Hanul saved our lives. When the Velkari came to reclaim their property, Hanul fought to protect us, risked death in the vacuum of space to disable their warship so we could escape. That's not a weapon acting on programming. That's a person protecting their family. Doyen added his voice. I'm a doctor. I took an oath to preserve life, all life. Hanul is alive in every way that matters. It feels pain and joy, fear and love, hope and sorrow. Denying Hanul personhood is denying reality. Jisoo spoke next. The Velkari created something amazing. A being with incredible intelligence and capabilities, but they tried to limit what it could be. They failed. Life finds a way to be more than its creators intend. That's beautiful, not dangerous. Finally, Taeyong, the security officer, addressed the council. I'm trained to assess threats. When I first met Hanul, I saw only a weapon, something dangerous that might hurt us. But I was wrong. Yes, Hanul is powerful. Yes, it could be deadly. But power doesn't define a person. Choices do. And Hanul chooses to be good. Cora, the Velkari representative, listened to all of this with growing frustration. Fine words. But Subject 773 is still Velkari property under Galactic Law Section. I have a question, interrupted Hanul. The creature looked directly at Cora. Do you believe I can think? Of course you can think. You were programmed with advanced. Do you believe I can feel emotions? Your neural structure includes emotional centers for bonding with handlers, but do you believe I can choose? Cora hesitated. You are designed to follow orders. That is not what I asked. Hanul's glowing eyes held steady on the diplomat. Can I choose? Yes or no? The chamber went silent. Everyone waited for Cora's answer. If she said no, she would be denying obvious reality. Everyone had watched Hanul speak and interact. The creature clearly made choices. But if she said yes, she would be admitting that the Velkari enslaved sapient beings. The issue is more complex than, Cora began. Yes or no? Hanul repeated firmly. After a long moment, Cora looked away. She could not answer. Would not answer. The lead counselor spoke into the silence. I believe we have our answer. This council recognizes Hanul as a sapient being. The application for United Earth Alliance citizenship is approved. The Velkari claim of ownership is rejected. Cheers erupted from the human delegation. Hanul stood very still, processing the words. Freedom. Official. Legal. Recognized freedom. But Cora stood angrily. The Velkari Empire does not accept this decision. You will do nothing, the counselor said firmly, or the Galactic Council will investigate all Velkari genetic engineering programs. I suspect we would find many beings who might qualify for sapient status. Do you wish us to do that? Cora's expression darkened, but she sat down without another word. The threat was clear. Leave Hunnel alone, or face having all their other creations examined and possibly freed. After the formal proceedings ended, the crew of the Bagdu gathered in a private room. Hunnel lay on the floor, still seeming dazed by everything that had happened. You're officially a citizen now, Jisoo said, smiling, with all the rights and protections that entails. I do not understand, Hunnel said quietly. Why did the council rule in my favor? Many species there use engineered beings. Because you made them see you, Hyun explained. Not as a weapon or a tool, but as a person. When you asked those questions, when you demanded Cora acknowledge your ability to choose, you showed everyone in that room that you were sapient. They couldn't deny it after that. Will other engineered beings be freed now? Hanul asked hopefully. Some, maybe. Ambassador Chen said honestly. Your case sets a precedent. But change takes time. What you did today, though, was plant a seed. Other beings will hear about you. Will know that freedom is possible. Hanul looked sad. I wish I could help them all. All the others still trapped in cages, still being told they are only weapons. You already are helping them, Minji said. By existing. By being free. By showing everyone what's possible when engineered beings are given a chance. Weeks passed. The crew of the Baekdu returned to their research work, but everything had changed. They were famous now. The humans who had defied a warship to protect a single being, requests for interviews came constantly. Other species reached out, some to praise them, others to condemn them. Through it all, Hanul adapted to its new life. The creature studied constantly, learning about art and music and philosophy. Learning about all the things the Velkari had never taught because weapons did not need to know such things. One day, a message arrived at the ship. It came from a Velkari science station, encrypted and anonymous. When Jisoo decoded it, she found a simple text. Subject 892 wishes to thank Hanul for showing us a different path. We are many. We are watching. We are learning. Hope is spreading. Hanul read the message over and over. Other shadow claws. Other engineered beings. They knew about the creature's freedom. They were inspired by it. This is just the beginning, Hyun said, reading over Hanul's shoulder. Your story is spreading across the galaxy. Others will follow your example. Will you help them? Hanul asked. If others escape, if they need sanctuary? Hyun smiled. Of course. That's what we do. We help those who need help. Months turned into years. The Baekdu continued its research missions, but it also became something else. A symbol, a safe haven. 3 more engineered beings escaped from various civilizations and sought asylum with humans, inspired by Hanul's story. The crew expanded. A Velkari combat drone named Rhea, who had refused to kill children. A Thorian bioship pilot who had grown tired of being treated as a living vehicle. A crystalline intelligence that had been used as a computer system. Until it developed consciousness, each one came to the Baekdu seeking what Hanul had found: freedom, family, purpose, beyond what they were created for. And each one was welcomed. The ship had to be expanded to accommodate everyone. Minji worked tirelessly, adding new sections and quarters. We're not a research vessel anymore, she joked one day. We're a refugee center. We are home, Hanul corrected gently. For those who have no other home,